streets. I will bear the word with love. I bind my heart, my life to yours, that it may be an offering. I bind my life to yours, that it may be an offering. To you belongs our full acclaim, all glory, power, and honor. The world's contempt I do not fear. I will gladly bear the cross without esteem, without renown. I only wish to follow without esteem, without renown. I only wish to follow.
Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. The God of goodness is a God of sacrifice and love. Love cannot exist apart from the essence of sacrifice. Great sacrifice reflects great love. Little sacrifice reflects little love. Robinson.
Would you like to hear a couple of jokes? Okay. I kind of like that tradition. It helps me to relax a little bit. I hope you do too. Why was the duck so good at golf? Birdies came quite natural to him. Okay, how about this one? Why did they put the duck in the basketball game? Only to make the final shot, the foul shot. I'm sorry. Those were not such good jokes. This is not actually a joke, but when I heard it, the people who were telling it were laughing about it, and somehow it came to mind. It was in the barber shop when I was just a teenager. I think I was about 13 or 14, and these two barbers were always talking and chatting, and it was such a popular shop. And I'd go there to get my hair cut. And they were talking about these two Native Americans who were in the Coos Bay area. You know, there's a huge bay with all kinds of sloughs and little creeks and rivers, and they were out in a boat. And one of the brothers was up in the front, the other in the back, and the one in the front was kind of guiding. It was foggy, telling them where to go. And I can't remember exactly what happened. Maybe a branch was coming or something. So the one in the front said, "Duck," and he put his head down. And the other one, who was sitting in the back, heard, "Duck," so he looked up in the air to see it. They were both okay, no problems. But I said that story because one of those two in the boat, where's that noise coming from? Do you hear it? Oh, it's the microphone. One of the two boys in that boat later became a coach at my high school. And I had liked basketball, so I went out for the team when I was my first year, a freshman. I just barely made the team. I was kind of like the smallest guy on the team, and skinny, very skinny. And I think maybe I only played in a couple of games. I mostly sat on the bench. But although it was disheartening, I really liked the game so much. I was there, you know, for practice every day. And then that second year of high school, I was wondering, should I go out for the team again? And the coach, who was in the boat in the earlier story, came to me and he said, "I'm going to be coming into school early every morning. if you want to come with me, I can help train you and you can work out and get stronger. And, maybe you'll be able to play more next year. And there was another person my age in the school who had trouble when he moved away from that town. And so he came back, and he was living with that coach and his family. They took him in. And he wanted to help that person improve too. So they lived way out of town. They'd drive in and pick me up on the way, and we'd work out. And that coach was an All-American in 3 sports at a junior college. And he was just a young, probably hired, young teacher, just hired a few years before at that high school. So I felt this is tremendous opportunity. It was hard work, getting up every morning so early on my own, walking down to the road where they'd pick me up in the rain or snow or whatever coming. Dark, most of the time it was in the winter. But I loved it. And I worked out, and I slowly began to improve. And I felt so much love from this coach because he was willing to work with me, and very few people were. I wasn't a prospect of any kind, But he really invested in me and this other student who was living with him. Every morning we were in the gym, and he was telling us how to become a better player and showing us because he knew how. He was also a Christian who we'd sometimes see him out door to door with his wife, knocking on doors and doing many good things in the community. And 2 years later, by the time I graduated from high school, there were the varsity coach, who was very different from this coach. At the time of giving out the awards, he recognized 2 people on the basketball team. It was the 2 of us who were coming in the car early in the morning to work out in the gym at that time, because we developed training habits from him. And he didn't just care about sports. In the car, he would talk about things with us and really guide us in life situations. And everybody loved this coach because they could feel, even though he was kind of stern and sometimes he'd yell at us a lot, but we really felt from him it was in our own best interest, and we'd go along with what he would suggest. So for me, this person made such a big impact in my life. I never forget him. I always think about him because of what he did for me. So I think if you look at those quotes that we were reading about from Jesus and Father about how love is kind of measured by sacrifice, I see in him someone who was willing to sacrifice a lot for the sake of others. He sacrificed his family. We had this old bus we would drive to an old cold gym that he'd open up just for practice for the whole team, because there wasn't a place to practice at our high school. It was already taken by other teams. So we'd get in a school bus, the whole team, and drive across town to an old cold gym. There was no heat. And he'd drive that school bus to away games and really take care of us so much. So that's why I think about him so often and how much he cared for us, and we knew it. So I think in many ways God sent him. He's a person that God sent. God's always doing that kind of stuff. I have one more story to share with you. It's about a remarkable person who also had great love and sacrifice that was called for in his life. He was a young boy in Poland, and he was praying to the mother of Jesus, trying to find out what God had in store for him in his life. And that night, in a dream or in a vision, Mother Mary came to him, and she was carrying 2 crowns. One was white and one was red. And she showed them to him, and she said to him, "Are you willing to take either of these 2 crowns?" And right away, his answer was, "I'll take both." And he knew somehow that one crown, the white one, represented a life of purity and that he'd become a monk in his life. And the other, the red crown, he realized it's the crown of martyrdom. So I might also be asked to be a martyr in my life. But still he said yes. And so as a monk, there were many things they would do, but they would care for people in the community, whoever they were. And as a result, he was put into prison because of political reasons. You know, he was taking care of the wrong people in the government's eyes, feeding them and clothing them. So in the prison, he would still go about his duties as a monk. He'd visit people. He'd say to them, I'm a monk. Is there anything I can do for you to help you and make it easier here? Visiting everybody, even at night when people were sleeping, he'd walk around and look for people who was awake. Is there anything I can do to help make your life easier here? So he met just about everybody. Everybody knew him and respected him. And then one day, somebody in the prison made a mistake, and the violation for that was that somebody had to die. And I think it was somebody escaped, so some prisoner who was still there had to die. So they picked randomly, the guard picked someone randomly. This person's going to die. We're going to shoot him. He knew that person. He knew that person had a wife and a family. He knew that he was loved by others, needed by others. And he thought about himself, and I'm just a monk. I don't have a family. So right on the spot, he said to the guard, would you take my life instead? And the guard didn't care. Just somebody had to die. So they killed him. They shot him. And he became a saint in the Catholic Church, a patron saint for prisoners. And in a way, he fulfilled that calling that he agreed to in his dream, because he lived in purity and he became a martyr for the sake of others. His last name was Kolbe. I think about these two people, my coach and then this person who became a saint not too long ago. And I think about how they exemplify the words that Father was sharing with us in that reading. Could I read that more fully to you again? I have it right here. The God of goodness is a God of sacrifice and love. Love cannot exist apart from the essence of sacrifice. And the more we sacrifice for the one we love, we do not think of it as sacrifice. The more we sacrifice, the more we can feel enriched. Love has that unusual quality. When we reflect upon our level of love, we find we can measure it only on the scale of sacrifice. Big or small, high or low, the extent of our sacrifice is the measure of our love. And great sacrifice reflects great love. And little sacrifice reflects little love. So I think about these two people. And I think that in some way they exemplify what Jesus is sharing here and what Father was sharing. These two men saw the needs of others, and they tried to take care of them, whatever they could do. One saw a student who needed a better home, and someone who needed a boost. And the other saw everyone around in his village as someone who needed to be helped. Whether he was out of prison or in the prison, he just wanted to live for the sake of others. So in the Bible, James, the brother of Jesus, writes that if you see someone and they're hungry and you say to them, be blessed, be warm and well fed, and then you leave, it did no good whatsoever. You've got to make your faith alive. Faith without works are dead, he wrote. And then Jesus, kind of in the same vein there, was saying that those who will be with me in the kingdom are those who will have fed me when I was hungry, clothed me when I was needy, visited me when I was sick, and all these kinds of things. Because if you did it for the least of God's children, you did it for me. So I really feel like as we come to the close of this year now, it's just a couple of weeks left, it's really good to reflect on ourselves and our commitments to our faith, to our desire to live a life that's based on love, to our level of sacrifice for our family, for others. It's good to think about these things because, we are needed. You are needed every single day. There's people in your family who need you. There's people in your class at school who need you. In your church, everywhere you go, you're needed because you have something that other people need. They don't have it, and you do. And in the same way, there's things you don't have that you need that others can give you. So the life that we're called to live is a life living for the sake of others, for one another. I think about this time of the year, there's the Salvation Army. Have you ever rung a bell for the Salvation Army? I'll tell you, it's a great experience. It brings so much joy to the ringer when people come and drop things in the kettle. It brings so much joy. If you haven't done it, think about it. The Salvation Army is raising all their money this time of the year. And then for the rest of the 11 months or so of the year, they're trying to take care of people and families and provide for them. It's a wonderful organization. Or you could think about, if there's a hospital near your house. You don't have to be a chaplain to visit people in the hospital. You can bring a Christmas book, a Christmas story from Dickens or someone, and read it. If you can read, there's somebody in that hospital who would love to listen to you. Maybe they've been in a car accident and can't even hold up a book. We don't need to die to serve others. We can live every day, consistently, steadily, to live for the sake of others in just a myriad of small and little ways that bring us joy and bring others joy. So Jesus said, final quote from Jesus, Jesus said that you can tell who my people are, those who belong to me, because they love one another. The theology, it ain't that important. It is, but at the same time, it's not so significant as to whether or not we are people of love. The theology should be pointing to a life of love, what everybody is teaching. If it doesn't, then it needs to change. So Father Moon was expressing, I feel, in that reading so much about how to see how you're doing. It's kind of like a thermometer of your health. If you love, you sacrifice. And if you don't love, you don't sacrifice. It's kind of pretty simple. We sometimes wonder what love means, but what it really means is you live for the sake of others. So Jesus said there's no greater love than that you live for the sake of others, and in some cases, lay down your life for others. And in such a way, I think, if we aspire to the life of living for the sake of others in this coming new year of 2015, I really feel like there are beautiful things that are going to happen in our families more and more, and in our church. As we live for the sake of others, our community becomes stronger and stronger because we help one person and they help another and they help another, and it comes back to us. And we're helping one another, and the fabric here becomes so strong. I think our church is going to be much, much stronger in this coming year. And more blessings of God are going to come. I feel that so strongly. I hope you do too. So I feel like in this year of 2015, let us make more effort to reflect upon ourselves, especially as we close this year, and make a commitment that we're going to live more for the sake of others and lift others up. Lift up one another, and we can lift up this church as we do that. And this church can lift up this area that we exist in, the Portland, Vancouver area. We can do so much. And as a result of that, I feel that those crowns of glory that Father talked about in that poem that he wrote, I think it's posted somewhere in our church. I wasn't going to read that this morning. I know you're all familiar with it. But it's not a white crown or a red crown that we aspire to in particular. Both in a way, but even more than that, we want to do the things that we're called to do in a way that shows we're approved by God, by the spiritual world. That we live the life of love as best we could while we were here. We live for the sake of others. And that crown of glory that Father talked about, I feel, is there. It's there for each and every one of you and us. And even our church, I feel this is a living being. Is it not? This church is a living being. You can compare it with other churches. And to the degree that we sacrifice, you can compare how much love is there. I'm not talking about amounts. That's not the point I'm making at all. But with whatever we have, how did we live? Did we choose to live wisely and live for the sake of others? So I feel that our goal is to become, as Father mentioned many times, true owners. That's the motto of this year. True owners of the heavenly land that resemble God by living for the sake of others. True love. And not only that, but Father used to talk about becoming a true teacher. We have to think more about teaching. That's really our core mission. A true teacher, a true parent, which is even more central and core and fundamental, and finally, the level where you can wear the crown. What level is that? The true king. We're called to be true parents, true teachers, and true kings. That can be what we focus on in this coming year. And of course, the motto that we already have. So God bless you. I pray that you can close this last couple of weeks of this year well. And let's celebrate on January 1 with a wonderful New Year's party. God bless you. Please join me in prayer.
Blessed be your name in a land that is plentiful, where your streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name when I'm lost in the desert place. Though I walk through the wilderness, blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glory.